This is Health Call Online, a place for extended versions of interviews you hear in our weekly radio broadcast, the Health Call Radio Hour. We are always urged to eat more fish for better health. But, that raises lots of questions. Exactly what fish are best? What are we looking for as we consume fish? Wild versus farm raised? What about canned? Is canned fish okay? And what about fish sticks? Are they okay for your kids? We're going to learn more about all of that today, talking to Yasi Ansari. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist and certified specialist in sports dietetics. She's also a national media spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. All right, so let's get down right. We got a lot to cover. Let's get there. What is it that makes fish so beneficial in our diet? Why are we always being told to eat more?
It's important to have fish in the diet for a variety of reasons. Three of my favorite include that it provides a great amount of protein. It can help support lean body mass. It can help provide support to a variety of functions within the body. And it provides healthy fats. So healthy fats are going to help support inflammation and decrease that inflammation. It's going to help a variety of other functions as well, which we'll talk about in more detail. And it helps with development. So development of the brain, especially during a time of growth for infants and children, and for women who may be pregnant that need to be taking in more fish to be able to support their child's development.
All very interesting. Let's dig into that a little bit more. The healthy fats are what? What are we looking for from fish?
Now, fish provides our essential fatty acids. And the essential fatty acids are fats that we need to be taking in from the diet. So fish itself provides omega-3 fatty acids, and our omega-3 fatty acids include our DHA and our EPA. This is so important to be including in our diet each day.
Okay, so two different types of fatty acids.
Right.
And what is it that omega-3 does in our body that makes it so important?
Omega-3 can support our blood pressure, so it can help decrease blood pressure in people who may be struggling with cardiovascular disease. It can also help protect the heart for a variety of individuals. Now, more research needs to be done on those who may not be impacted by cardiovascular disease, but those who do struggle with cardiovascular disease, the EPA and the DHA can help support their health. Now, omega-3s can also help with protecting the brain. So omega-3s, you'd be surprised, they're found in a variety of different tissues in our body. So they may help with decreasing the inflammation. They can help with protecting the brain. So people who may have Alzheimer's or mild cognitive impairment can benefit from taking in omega-3s throughout the day, because that can help decrease some of the effects of mild cognitive impairment, such as memory loss, learning, just being able to remember things throughout the day in language. It's going to be really important for that. Now, there are other areas where omega-3s are still being studied, but we need to look into that more and do more human studies. So with those conditions, that could be ADHD, IBD, that could be depression, so decreasing some of those symptoms of depression. But what we do know is that omega-3s throughout the day can help support your heart health, your brain health, and can support growth and development.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff you just mentioned there. Why not? So what fish should I be eating and how much? So let's talk species first. Is one type of fish higher in omega-3 than another?
I love including salmon, and I recommend salmon for many individuals who want to add fish throughout the day and just to be able to have it throughout the week to meet their EPA and DHA needs. So salmon, trout, cod, shrimp, crab, these are some sources that are higher in omega-3s.
Does it matter whether it is fresh or frozen?
Great question. So I think that what is so important to remember is, what do you have access to? And so it can be fresh, it can be canned, it can be frozen. All of these can provide the same benefit as fresh fish.
Oh, so canned is still okay for getting that omega-3. That's interesting. And, I have read that sardines and those kinds of little kind of in the can oily things that I'm not a big fan of, are those loaded with good stuff? Are they worth the effort?
I'm with you. So I'm not a huge fan of sardines, but I will say that it is beneficial, and it's actually lower in mercury too compared to other fish. So having sardines, you're going to get that omega-3 and you're going to get a lower mercury fish. And so you can get that in a canned version or a fresh. And the great thing about canned, and this is not just to be talking about canned fish versions, but just to say that that's another option for consumers. They can take that with them when they're camping. They can take it on long travel, as long as, once you open up the can, you're refrigerating it. But it's important to know that you have that option. You can get the same benefits from canned version.
Yeah, and it's typically less expensive, and obviously stores a lot longer, and and it's all very nutrient dense. So all good stuff. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. So let's walk a few more species forward here. So there is tilapia, has been a farm-raised fish that is available lots of places, fresh and frozen. It's often more affordable than salmon. But I've read that tilapia really doesn't have the punch that other species do. Do you know about that?
So tilapia still offers that high amount of protein that we're looking for, and it still is lower in saturated fat. So it's going to provide a good, healthy fat as well. And again, another beautiful thing about tilapia is that it's lower in mercury too. So the FDA and the EPA, they have a nice list for consumers. And I recommend that anyone listening to this goes to the website that the FDA and the EPA, they have like a joint list where they've listed out good sources, best sources, and limiting sources of fish. And fish such as tilapia are on the list of best fish to include.
Okay. How much should I be eating to be seeing the health benefits we're looking for here?
So the American Heart Association is recommending at least 8 ounces of fish throughout the week. So that means about the palm size of my hand, about 4 ounces for each person. This might look different, but 4 ounces twice throughout the week with the thickness of the palm. That is going to provide you with the health benefits of the EPA and the DHA. Now, for pregnant women who are, or those who are lactating, it's important to get at least 8 to 12 ounces throughout the week of the best source, which means low mercury fish throughout the week.
Got it. What about fish sticks? Moms everywhere are going to want to know the answer to this because, it's a quick and easy thing to put in front of the kids. I know there's lots of different varieties, but in general, can we kind of summarize what I'm looking for there?
Yeah. So with the frozen fish sticks, let's talk about that. They're mostly made up of cod. And cod, I will say, lower in mercury, and you're going to get those omega-3s. But the thing is that we want to get more of the omega-3 fatty acids from our seafood. We don't want as many of the saturated fats. And sometimes when we're purchasing frozen fish sticks that may be breaded and fried, we're not going to get all the benefits that we want from the fish. And the other thing is that it's higher in saturated fats, and according to the dietary guidelines of Americans, you want that to be less than 10% of your daily consumption. So what I would recommend is if we're going to do a frozen fish stick, let's make some at home and make it a whole family thing. And maybe make it with some cod or any other fish that the family loves, and then add your own breading to it and then bake it instead. But having said that, I know that sometimes some people need to just turn to fish sticks. If that's what needs to happen, what you can do is make sure you're pairing it up with an abundance of fresh vegetables, and then having maybe like an olive oil based sauce with it, and then adding variety throughout the day and making sure that you're getting some of that fresh fish throughout the week too.
Man, you just hit a hot button for me, and that is the tartar sauce that is so often served with fish. That stuff that's just got to be clogging your arteries, right? I mean, that can't be good for you.
I'm sure it just depends on the tartar sauce that you're making and how you're making it up. But what I say is it's all about moderation and making sure that you're getting a variety of sources throughout the week. And again, if we're focusing on those heart-healthy omega-3s from the fresh, frozen, or canned fish that we've been talking about, you're going to get a lot of those health benefits. And remember, let's focus on how we can add more nutrient-dense foods in our intake throughout the day versus what we should be taking out of.
Yeah, good point. Nutrient dense is important. And I have seen more of a health focused, or I guess you could call it gourmet fish stick in some locations, in some markets. But it's hard to fight the convenience of putting together something. And I suppose fish sticks are better than hot dogs if you're looking for a convenience food for the kids, right?
It's important to focus on what you can get out of a food. So with those frozen or the fish sticks that you're having with your family, let's focus on the omega-3s that you are taking in. But also remember that if we can shift to more grilled or baked varieties, that's going to be better for the health.
Okay, now let's jump a little bit into farm raised versus wild caught. You know, I've got to believe the closer to nature you are, the better it's going to be. So from a nutritional standpoint, is there a difference between the two?
Now, with farmed raised, you're actually going to get more omega-3s per serving.
Really?
And yep, you're going to get more omega-3s and the protein content is the same. Now, the saturated fat of the farmed raised may be a little bit more, but it's still not high enough to impact the health negatively. So what my recommendation to people is that choose what, again, you can afford. And so if you're at the store, mix and match what, depends on what you can afford that week and what's on sale at the market, and choose sources and mix them up to get a variety of both the farmed and the wild. But be rest assured that if you're taking in the farmed raised fish, you are going to get similar nutrients.
So the last time I was shopping, I'll just shout out Aldi here. I was at Aldi. They typically have a fresh salmon product. And I started reading the label more closely because I knew we'd be talking about this. And I noticed it said color added through food. So that red flesh color that makes salmon so appealing is artificially induced in these farm-raised fish. Now, is that anything to be concerned about?
So astaxanthin is probably what you're referring to, and know that even wild varieties take that in naturally in the sea. So they're taking that in from the microalgae and in general, just from the environment in the water. Shrimp take it in as well. And so that actually can provide antioxidants for the consumer. We just need more information on how that can impact you when it's put into the feed or in a supplement form. But generally, wild fish provides astaxanthin, and that is known as an antioxidant. And it's specifically a carotenoid, so that's where it gets that red hue from.
Yeah. And then I was surprised to hear you say that shellfish, shrimp, that kind of thing also has a lot of omega-3. But, there was some concern years ago about cholesterol in shellfish. Is that still a thing, or have we learned more?
So the connection between cholesterol and heart disease, again, it just depends. So talk to your doctor, see if this is going to impact your health, but know that when it comes to lipid profiles, when you're taking in shrimp, you're also taking in those omega-3s that are going to support increases in your HDL. So it is going to provide health benefits as well. It's also lower in saturated fats. So you are going to get those omega-3s, those polyunsaturated fatty acids, and you're going to get a higher protein source. It's going to be satisfying, and it's going to give you the benefits that other fish can provide. And it's low in mercury.
And obviously very tasty as well.
Yeah.
What about the other scavengers who are now increasingly in our diet? So clams and mussels and those types of seafood. Are they also bringing that omega-3 punch we're looking for?
Yes. So lobster and other shellfish are going to be providing that as well. And again, if you're looking at that at the FDA and the EPA list on the lower mercury foods, they made the list. So I think what's really important to remember is we want to eat 8 ounces of fish, that could be shellfish as well, throughout the week. I would like consumers to take in some salmon. And if they want to add other varieties, go for it. But make sure that you are getting that DHA and that EPA from fish sources so that you're taking in all the benefits you can from our seafood. And if you can't take it in, you can also supplement and fill the gaps in. So there are recommendations for supplementation, but when it comes to supplementation, start by perhaps meeting with a dietitian so you can go through the diet and see where omega-3s can help benefit you. And also meet with your doctor to see if you should take a supplement if you're not getting enough fish throughout the week.
So you just touched on this, but I'm curious. So your title is Certified Specialist in Sports Dietetics.
Yep.
Tell me about that. That's an interesting designation I've not heard before.
So I specialize in working with athletes, and I provide nutritional recommendations and counseling to active individuals. So again, with fish, if we're bringing it all back, fish provides a great source of protein, and it's something that would be really beneficial for athletes because after hard activity and even just active individuals, they're getting in that protein to help support them in their recovery process. And as we know, high intensity exercise can put a little bit of stress on the body, and taking in omega-3s is going to help decrease some of that inflammation that intense exercise can put on the body. It can also protect the brain, right, from a variety of injuries. So while we need more information on the specifics and supplementation, it is important to start adding more fish throughout the week and get those needs in so that you can take all the benefits of the omega-3s.
So it's never all about me, but of course it's always all about us, right? I mean, that's how life works. When I go to the gym and lift weights, does it matter how soon thereafter that I consume protein, fish, or anything else in terms of helping my body recover? Should I be eating protein immediately after a weightlifting session? How does that work?
Ideally, we like to recommend taking in your protein, carbohydrate combination for recovery within that 15 to 30 minute window. But as long as you're getting your protein needs throughout the day, you are going to meet your protein needs that's needed for recovery and the different functions that protein provides within the body.
Okay. Carry us out of here with a last factoid about seafood and health, if you've got one.
Now, with seafood and so seafood, fish, shellfish, you're getting a variety of other micronutrients too. Calcium, iron, zinc, vitamin D. Now, vitamin D, a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D. Fish, that's going to provide you with a good source of vitamin D from food. So fish can actually help support the bone. It can help with decreasing inflammation, which we've talked about, but it also provides potassium. And we know that if we're taking in the right amount of potassium, that can help with blood pressure regulation. Now, it's also a lower fat source, and it's going to provide us with those healthy fats. And so it provides a variety of micronutrients. It provides a variety of macronutrients. And so it's overall just really beneficial for the health in a variety of ways. And the beautiful thing is there's so many studies being done right now. So I'm not going to be surprised if tomorrow we're going to learn more about what omega-3s can do for us.
Awesome. Well, I know what I'm going to be adding more into my diet. That's for sure. Thank you. That's Yasi Ansari. She is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and a national media spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Great information today about why we need to add more seafood to our diets. Thanks, Yasi.
Thank you.
Great job.
Awesome. I hope that covered